Welcome to another episode of the Behind the Shield podcast by InfusionPoints. I'm your host today, Gary Daemer, and my guest today is.
Felisha Daemer, VP of Public Sector.
All right, so Felicia, you know, why is it that we decided to do a podcast? I mean, just give that some highlights and think about why is it we decided to do one.
Besides the fact that you'd been talking about it for years, and besides the fact that everyone's doing a podcast right now, besides all those facts, it's to be able to get our message out to the right folks, right? Something that we strive to do all the time is to get our marketing out there. So a podcast is another way for you guys to be able to visually see us, listen to us, and so we can get our message out.
Cool. Yeah, I also think as we talk in our leads calls, we have leads calls Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I mean, some of those conversations that we have are very, very good, and we want to bring those kinds of conversations to our audience. And I think that's where we're going to start.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah, those were trapped in our leads calls. That's right.
They are,
we
because
needed
we don't
to get them out.
we don't record them,
No.
and it's like, oh man, what was that line again? So trying to figure out exactly how we can get those messages out, because we've been in this industry for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And maybe you could just spend a few minutes and talk a little bit about our culture and why, like, always learning, scrappy, gritty, hungry, humble, and smart is really a big part of who we are, and how we present ourselves into the overall aspect of the community.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is a topic that I thoroughly enjoy talking about. Our culture is everything to who we are as an organization. That's why customers keep coming back to us, because one of the things that I love to say is that because we're authentically ourselves. We don't hide behind anything. We say what's on our minds. We tell you up front whether or not something's going to work. Even if you want it to work, we're going to tell you it's not going to work if it's not going to work. So with us, we're a lean organization. And so to be lean, meaning our beautiful word of being scrappy. So being able to utilize tools that we have today, instead of going out and buying all the fancy, flashy.
So tools don't solve all your problems.
You're right.
Is that what you're saying?
100%. That's what I'm saying. The tool does not solve that
So
problem.
the business
100%.
process is really important.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then also, I mean, it's your people too. It's the hiring process. We follow Patrick Laconi's ideology or methodology around hiring that's called the ideal team player. We adopted this, what has it been, 8-9 years ago,
Right.
And it was from a leadership course that I'd gone to, and they were talking about it, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. Bring it back. Let's talk about this. What is the ideal team player? And it's being humble, hungry, and smart, and those pretty much mean exactly what it says. But that humble piece, to be able to kind of sit back and allow for other people to rise up within the organization and be able to helping those people to rise up. That's that humble piece. The hungry piece is always looking for the next thing, whether it's a certification, whether it's another type of opportunity within inside of our current client set. It's that hunger, it's that drive, it's that passion, it's that Snapchat that I just received from Caitlin saying when you're on vacation and you can't step away from your work because you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work, right? So that's
It's not like you're being pulled or told
Right.
exactly that's what you have to do.
Exactly.
It's because you love it.
It's because you love it and
Right.
you're willing to do it. And I think InfusionPoints, us as a whole, all of us are that way. All of us enjoy what we do on a day-to-day basis. So also the smart piece. So the smart piece is really having like emotional intelligence, because we're dealing with some very complex issues. We're dealing with some very sensitive information. We're dealing with sensitive things that happen to organizations like ransomware attacks, things like that. So it's a sensitive topic. So you need to be emotionally intelligent to be able to handle those situations, and to be able to handle the situations with other employees, so yeah, that has changed, I believe, completely changed our hiring process and has allowed us to create a community that we have, or a beautiful community that we have now.
Right.
That was a big answer, but
No, but that was
Yeah.
that's spot on. I mean,
Yeah.
it's something we've been trying to create here for since we've really started, but we couldn't figure out exactly to put our finger on it. But I know the first time I saw it, because I read Patrick Laconi's book, The Ideal Team Player. Then when you brought it to me, I was like, wow, yeah, this is exactly what I read in his books, and I had read 2 or 3 at the time.
Yeah.
I was in my beginning phases of Patrick. And I really thoroughly enjoy his methodologies on how to manage people, how to get involved with people.
Yes.
Very, very good. One of his books that I really like is The Advantage, which actually pulls a few of the books together, and it really makes it a tight story around the overall company as well. Very,
Yeah.
very good. He has another really good one out right now called The Working Genius, which I think is awesome. And maybe we'll do an episode
That's
just
a
on
good
just on the
idea.
Working Genius
I just
piece
finished
as well.
that book recently.
Oh,
actually.
good.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it was very, very, very good book. So now, obviously,
What?
there's something.
What's obvious?
There is something obvious.
obvious?
I think there's something obvious about you and I
Right.
that maybe you can explain real quick.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So, as you all know, you don't know. Maybe you do know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm Gary's daughter. And I love telling the story of how I got to where I'm at today. I started off at UNC Charlotte, which I also didn't even know that was a school that I was going to end up going to. We looked at Wilmington, we looked at
we went
NC State.
We went to quite a few different places.
We went a lot of places, and then ultimately Charlotte just made the most sense to me, UNC Charlotte, that is. And so I think it was about 2 years into my actual college career. That's not how you say that, but, into my college experience, which I would have been my first year at UNC Charlotte. That's when you came to me because I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't even, from a degree perspective, even that was a little bit up in the air of where do I go? What do I do? And you offered me a position as an intern with you doing shell matrix on Excel back in 2010. Okay, if anyone remembers Excel back in 2010, it is not what it is today. It's definitely advanced, but also in 2010. I don't know. Everything was just different. It was just a different time, and I'm trying to do these shell matrices, and I have no idea what I'm doing and why. The why. The why. Why am I doing this? Why are there 400 lines, on this Excel spreadsheet, and one little thing can go wrong and it messes the whole thing up? But I had no understanding at the time. But I kept pushing forward, and I kept trying to understand. I was trying to understand what we were doing at the time, which is completely different than what we're doing today. Maybe not completely different. I mean, it definitely led us into what we're doing today, but it's completely different as to what we were doing. So anyway, so started off as an intern, and then you and I, once I graduated, I fell in love with what we were doing. Actually, I didn't fall in love quite yet. I didn't fall in love yet at that moment, right? But I was interested in it. It kept me going. It was like, this is nice. I want to be a part of this professional world. I want to be a part of all of these things, but we'll see where this takes me, right? So you and I end up moving up to DC. And then of course, I just fall back in love with DC. I want to stay there. I want to live there. And I got onto a few government contracts, which was pretty cool, but it was in the HSPD 12 world for the VA. I was there for a year and a half or something. And then that contract comes to an end. And then we're back to the point of, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to stay in the DC area? And you were like, you know what? I need you to come back to North Carolina. I need you here. And I agreed. I said, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Jumped in my car, drove on down here, got moved in.
A few U-Hauls later.
Yeah, a few U-Hauls, a few truck drives. That was crazy trying to move back, all that stuff. But anyways, so got back down to here, and now we're trying to flesh out, okay, what are we going to do? What is my role here? Where are we going next? So at that point, this is when FedRAMP was becoming our thing. This is when it was becoming everybody's thing. This was when we were shifting from what I was
Big
used
pivot.
to. It was a huge pivot. I was on, like I said, an HSPD 12 VA contract, which had everything to do with HSPD 12 and policy, and creating policy, card issuance, nothing to do with what we're doing now. Because we focused on ICAM, we focused on, like I said, HSPD 12. We did for SWORD, we did some SOC work for SWORD, but not like our SOC work.
Right.
But we did some stuff like that. But it's just totally different to what we transitioned into today. And yeah, I love this story because I went from not knowing what I wanted to do to me kind of falling in love with what we were doing at the beginning, to then now being extremely passionate. I've always been involved with politics. I've always loved politics. I've always loved having conversations around politics. And now I'm working not working with the agencies quite yet, but now I'm working alongside and I'm understanding more about how the agencies are working, which is what's led me into my position today, of being VP of Public Sector was kind of my love for politics, but then the government itself, and then how to then secure the agencies that hold my tax dollars, like it's one of those things.
So how do we how do we really focus on separating, the father from the daughter in a business relationship? I mean, you call me Gary at work, which is really weird to me sometimes.
You're not used to that yet?
No, I know you've done it since the very beginning.
I have.
But it is a good separation.
It is, yeah.
And it's healthy too. I think it's very healthy for us to do that separation. So if any fathers are out there trying to hire their daughters or sons into the business, I would say 100% go for it.
100% go for it. And, for me, it was hard at the beginning when I was younger, when I was still in college, I'm still to this day figuring myself out. But especially when I was in college, I was trying to figure out, me, how do I be me, without my family telling me who I need to be,
Right.
Not that you ever told me but you know what I mean? You need that separation to grow up. Right. So it was hard for me at the beginning, because it still took it as, dad's telling me what to do, You
got over that pretty quickly, though, right?
Very fast. I mean, it because I did have that. I figured out how to separate it. Instead of taking things so personally and you attacking me as a person, you know me already. So obviously those attacks aren't, and they're not attacks, but they're not attacks as to me as a person, basically. It's feedback. And it taught me how to take feedback, instead of being offended by things so easily.
Right.
Which as a child, I could definitely say I was a little defensive, a little rebellious, but it is what it is. But anyway, so it just taught me to have that separation, and being able to call you Gary at work and Dad outside of work, that created that separation for me and just allowed me to, I don't know, be able to not take things so personally,
Right.
or feel like you were trying to dictate my life, and no, because
So am I
I've
easier?
chosen it.
Am I easier on you, or?
Absolutely not. That is one thing, you hear all the time, like, you were not just for me, but for other people, right? You work for your father's company, or you just have daddy's money. No, that is not what it is. At all. Never been handed anything except for maybe your Pontiac G8, but you didn't even hand that to me, so I can't say that.
Right.
But anyways,
Other person as well.
yeah. So let's talk about internship program.
Right.
So we have a fantastic relationship with App State University, and not that we're exclusive, to App State, but it just kind of happens.
I think we actually have some NC Staters now.
We
and
do have some
Wake
NC
Forest
State, yep.
folks,
And
and
some
UNC
UNC
Charlotte. Yeah,
Charlotte.
we have a couple
Yep.
UNC Charlotte folks
Yep.
as well.
But it really kind of stemmed out of, it actually stemmed out of WCC.
Yes.
That's really where we started.
Right, with the apprenticeship program,
With the apprenticeship program,
which
yep.
was high school actually.
It was. And then we figured out that high school was a little bit not mature enough.
Not
right?
ready for us.
Not ready for us
Right.
yet. So we figured that out quickly, which was great. So then we kind of moved to WCC and was able to, have a streamlined approach with them to be able to get
Almost everybody that
Yeah.
works in our cyber security operations there has come out of the WCC program, Wilkes
Exactly.
Community College program. Not everybody, but I think almost everybody has been through that program.
Chad, do you happen to know that? Is that everybody? I think. I mean, it's like 90% of them, I believe.
I'm not sure if he knows how to unmute over there.
Oh, true. You might not. 90%, exactly. I think we have like maybe one or two folks, but But anyway, so we were on their boards, and we helped kind of shape their program, their existing program that they had. That we had shaped it a little bit, right? So then we expanded out to Appalachian State University, and was able to be a part of their App IT group, and we've attended their App State's.
Part of that's because I do sit on the CIS board
That's
for
right.
cybersecurity as well.
Which is
So,
good, yeah. Sitting on the boards, that's some good advice. When you get onto boards with universities, you're able to kind of, open that up more. But, with App State Cyber Summit,
Right.
We've become a part of those, and you've done speeches, and then we've also had the interns that have come to us do speeches for them as well.
Every year, the next year of interns have to go do their speech
I
as
like
opposed
that.
to.
Yeah,
I think we got that feedback from lots of folks as well.
Good. Well, that's definitely what we should continue to do. So, so with that program, I had just spearhead that since the Wilkes apprenticeship, and then ended up pulling Tanner. which I should. I mean, Tanner will be on this podcast at
I'm
some
sure he
point.
will eventually. Yeah.
Which Tanner, like myself, also started off as an intern, and then he went off to college, and then he came back and started to work for us. So Tanner's a huge part of the internship program now. He actually has taken that and has completely revolutionized the internship program. It's structured. There's phases. There's rounds that you go through each department. I say department loosely with us, but with each section of the company,
Build, manage, defend.
the build, manage, defend, exactly. Going through each one of those so that the students, specifically the CIS students at App State, or just CIS in general, if you have a CIS degree, it's kind of a broad degree, so it helps to define what they want to do, not just for us, which we obviously hope it'll be for us, but throughout their career to figure out where they want to be. Engineering, security operations center, advisory, cloud ops. Where do you want to be? So they get to experience every single part of that.
And then we let them choose where they want to go. And I think every year we get surprised on who wants to go where.
Yeah. And and it aligns, like I definitely can see where people's skill sets shine,
Right.
So, but yeah, that's definitely something that has evolved over the past couple of years. And it's also a part of our hiring process, being able to pull people who are very green and being able to show them, how we do things, I think is also a part of who we are as an organization, to our culture.
And a lot of those folks have turned out to be very, very good folks, and they've turned out to be good leaders within the company, subject matter expertise. We have a good way of educating from on OJT perspective, because we got lots of great clients, and we work them in. To be a big part of those jobs as well. Once they come on board full time.
Exactly.
I don't think we might have some shadowing going on and task.
Like in the internship program?
Yeah, do you do that?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, they follow. So, with us being a remote organization, it's how do you do that, right? But they're involved in every single one of our, of like the stand-up meetings and all of that. And then they don't really have a single person as a shadow, but we did introduce this year, last year's interns were this year's mentors.
Okay.
So they gave them their advice. They gave them,
We should come up with a Spartan name of like what is a scout and a Spartan name. So we'll call them like a something whatever the scout
whatever
is.
that is. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because then it matches our theme.
Yeah, there you go.
I like
there you go. Spartans through and through.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yep. So we've talked a little bit about our relationship. We've talked a little bit about what some of the stuff that you focus on. How about we talk a little bit about what's going on, in the federal government at this point? What's going on with FedRAMP 20X, which is as I said this morning in one of our leads calls, is our number one priority is delivery. Unless FedRAMP 20X steps on it, then FedRAMP 20X is and will be the priority.
Yeah.
So really, FedRAMP 20X is our priority.
Yeah.
But we got to really focus. We can't take everybody away from all delivery all the time, because we have customers that we have to support.
Yeah, exactly.
Who like what we do, and we want them to further. We want them to continue to like. We really want you to continue liking what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
So. But 20X is a big part. And I really think we are really leading, the path there. We're in the first cohort of folks who got the first ATO.
Yeah.
We've been doing FedRAMP for more than a dozen years now. And that's 2/3 of our business years has been focused on FedRAMP. But with 20X and with the changes that's going on in the administration, help me understand kind of our strategy going into this coming year with the government organizations. So
yeah. So before I kind of get into the strategy, I want to talk about, for example, okay, so we are 2 days into a government shutdown right now.
Right.
And we, I just saw the note from the FedRAMP PMO about how, certain things are still happening, but then there's also some things that are on pause, right? So the government shutdown itself is causing a little bit of just a pause right now, but it's kind of nice. People can.
And if you're listening to this at another time, this is October
2nd.
October 2nd,
Yes.
2025, as we record this.
Exactly.
So this is the new fiscal year as well.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Yeah. So we're just in a government shutdown right now. And so things are kind of paused. But one trend that I am seeing is With FedRAMP 20X, one of the things that everyone talks about is doing it live, right? So a trend I'm seeing.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Who's talking about that?
Us.
Oh, well, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There you
us.
go.
And, FedRAMP
Yeah,
PMO,
yeah.
they're talking about.
They've picked up that theme, I think, as
They've
well.
picked up that theme, and so has the DoD from
Right.
the RMF.
Mm-hmm.
From RMF, that is now going to be the CSRMC. Don't know what that stands for at this moment off the top of my head, but we can put it at the bottom or something,
There you
right? So with that, one of the things that they're focusing on too is also doing it live. Like
Right.
no more screenshots. Like people want an actual viewpoint of the health of their security immediately instead of a point in time. So FedRAMP's doing that. The new RMF, the CRSMC is doing that. CMMC itself. So all of the trend, right, of doing it live, I think is big because that's something that we have always done. It's something we've always talked about. It's something that's, why do we do the screenshots? Why do we do that? It's not a real picture of what's actually happening, right?
Because I can actually cut and paste it from another system and give it to. I mean, but not that we would ever do that. But I'm sure there are some unscrupulous people out there. Maybe had tried that.
I'm sure there are, which is why, like with CMMC, for example, we have to get audits now because people weren't actually doing what they said that they were doing, right? So now it's...
Or in some cases, they thought they were, right? Because, they didn't...
Benefit of the doubt.
There you
Let's
go.
be positive.
There you go. They didn't maybe know how far they should take it. So.
Yeah. And then, you had some that weren't as honest, right? Which I truly believe that that's kind of what's happened.
Right.
Like the government realizes, okay, we've got to do something because everyone needs to be compliant, right? But anyways, so that kind of just leads in more to the term that you always say is like the hair on fire. What are the agency's hair on fire problems right now? And one of those is tracking of all of the ATOs that the agencies who sponsor that they're responsible for. How do they track all of these? We have known for years that there's not been like a unified system or a center of excellence. And for us, we identified that. So we were able to say, hey, this is something that we need to like put this fire out, right? We need to, and we also need to get in front of the agencies to let them know that, hey, did you know we can do this a different way outside of your Excel spreadsheets, outside of like one person, maybe two people tracking this. Now you can have a system that can actually track your ATOs. So getting that in front of them, right? So that was one of the hair on fire opportunities that we had seen and identified, and we just knew with Command Center that we would be able to satisfy that, put that fire out.
Cool. And I think that is a big hair on fire perspective because, think about it from not only managing all the cloud ATOs, but think about if we could actually get them to do this from an internal perspective. If they could do it from an internal perspective and all the ATOs, the FISMA ATOs that they manage inside of their organizations, if they could do it more automated, think about how much money that would save across all the organizations.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these organizations manage 5, 6, 7, 800, 1,000 ATOs within their organization. So how do they truly go about managing those and truly understanding the insight? Things like AWS's Salute GovCloud with a command center built on top of it.
Yeah.
There's ways we can get that done.
Yeah,
right?
No, there is. And you just made me think of talking about like with the tracking all of the ATOs. I'll just never forget. We had a guy who worked for us at one point, and him telling me that he was the only one that was tracking everything at HHS, and I was like, "Are you serious? How? That isn't." And I'm like, "That sounds exactly like the hair on fire problems that Gary and I've been talking about." So, yeah.
So we're hoping that where we get with 20X, that's going to help deliver some good solid services to our customers. Be able to build in the ATO monitoring, be able to track POAM items or vulnerabilities within the organization, whether they're manual findings or there are automated findings. It's why our ethos really does focus on this efficiency and automation, because it goes back to that scrappy organization trying to figure out how to get stuff done with less funds than you might want to have.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it's any less quality. Doesn't mean it's any less ability. You have all those capabilities built in, into our command center.
Right.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
yep. So, well, help me understand then. I know we just touched on a few topics here.
Yeah.
Uh, what kinds of topics are you going to be talking about when you host a show?
Yeah. Topics for me. So focusing on public sector side, focusing on agencies, maybe direction of like where's everybody going right now, because this administration it changes a lot. There's a
Right.
lot of new things coming in. There's a lot of change, but efficiency being the main thing to focus on, which is something that we've always focused on. We've always been very efficient because we're scrappy, right? Efficiency definitely,
Right.
to me is really a scrappy thing. And so, I definitely want to focus on that heavily. I also, because I'm so passionate just about our culture, right, is, getting some people, just getting like some of our employees, to come on board and talk to me about like their ideas or their views of the culture of Infusion Points, or, what keeps you here at Infusion Point?
Right.
What motivates you? What makes you happy? I feel like those things can also, benefit because people can then learn about humble, hungry, and smart, and how the ideal team player is a fantastic way to run a business. So those would be some major topics. Some other things would be just new industry standards. Like I was talking about the CSRMC. That's the new RMF that's coming out, and the policy they say it'll be landed in November, but we'll see. But it's those things. Staying on top of what's going on in the industry will definitely be topics that I'll be talking about.
Cool. Well, Felicia, I truly appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I absolutely 100% enjoyed the conversation.
So did I.
Let's make sure that we continue having these conversations.
Cool.
And like I've been trying to say, I may not always be here, but you can always find one of us kind of behind the shield. So there you go.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks.